In today's episode, I'll be talking with three random Pistons fans to get their thoughts and get their frustrations out with how this Detroit Pistons season has gone. Stay tuned for all of that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Been covering the team for Locked On over the last 3 years. Was a writer for numerous Piston blogs before these last 3 years. I've been covering this team for a while. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. In today's episode, we'll be interviewing three Pistons fans to get their grievances out, to get their frustrations out, and see where the Pistons fan base stands at. We're going to be doing this often. I'll be getting three random fans to come on the podcast and give them each their own segment. If you want to be one of those lucky fans, again, comment in the YouTube section down below or tweet at me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I'm going to try to get as many fans on as possible from here until the end of the offseason. So that's what we're going to do. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. That's it for the intro, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I am here with the first Pistons fan for our first episode of interviewing Pistons fans based off of this season. How do they feel about this season, how it's went? How are they feeling right now? And the first fan that we are going to be talking with is Tyler Dunn. Tyler, thank you, first of all, for making time to come on to the podcast. But like I said, before we started recording, I'm not going to talk a lot. This is for you guys to get everything you guys want out and for other fans to listen to you guys and see how you're feeling and if you guys feel the same way, how Pistons fans in the fan base are, just overall feeling. So, Tyler, let's start off with just give us a brief explanation of how do you became a Pistons fan? Were you just born in Detroit? Like, what's your story as a Pistons fan? Just real quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, born in Detroit, born and raised. Been a fan for 28 years now. Started writing for just some friends and stuff here, doing some sports blogs and everything. And then just started live streaming our games and putting up with all the other fans that have the season. So I've seen the good, I've seen the bad. I thought we were going to be seeing some good this season, or at least a little more good, but here we are. So.
All right. So if you want to shout out where some of your stuff is, where you're doing some writing, you can throughout the podcast. Don't be shy to do that. A writer contributor at Piston Powered. I used to be a site expert over at Piston Powered. But anyways, all right. So this season, like you said, it has not went according to plan at all from top down. I don't think any fans expected it to be this bad. Did you think ever in your wildest dreams it could get this bad?
No, I thought we were kind of beyond this point in the rebuild. I mean, everyone says the same thing. We're in year 4, and it really still feels like, we're in year 0. I thought this was the year, like everyone else, this was the year that we were going to be turning that corner. There was going to be, I wasn't delusional. I knew, we weren't going to be making it very far, making any noise really in the playoffs. I personally thought that this would be the year in which maybe we made a move at the deadline, maybe even going into the season, something towards the last off season. And we were going to be playing meaningful basketball this time of year. It would be whether we actually made it into the play-in games or if, we just came up short, regardless. With this, the schedule that's coming up of the next month, a few of those games were expected to be winnable. And so I really thought coming to this time, it would be playing meaningful basketball in which, you tune in every night. We're in a race with one team or another team. And again, that might just be for a play-in game, but it's meaningful basketball. It's not just, who cares if we won or lost? The records mean nothing. So to be here, in year 4, to have that meaningless basketball where you don't really care, you're just kind of checking in on injuries and stuff. No, I never really thought in year 4 of the rebuild that we'd be, in this spot here.
Yeah, and I don't think any Pistons fans would think that after what Troy Weaver said to them before the season that the goal was to play 82 meaningful games, and now here we are with this. We'll dive a little deeper into some of the things you may be most upset about this season. But I think you have to start here asking you this. How do you feel about the Pistons core guys? Do you feel strong on them? Are you low on them after this type of season? I mean, like I said, we'll get to other parts of the season that maybe you are very upset about. But I think that obviously might be where we have to start. Maybe also Cade Cunningham. But just how do you feel about those young guys now?
Yeah, and you know what? I would say that probably is where most of my grievance and lies. It's, we've had this, you did quotes for the core, and the 4 core, 5 core, however you want to consider there. And while we coming into the season, I definitely was on that same train of those are the core guys. We're going to build around them. They're all going to be taking these steps forward, and they're going to be the ones that lead us into meaningful basketball this time of year. Now, looking back, I think that's where I honestly struggle the most with our guys here, in that the Pistons were so long at the bottom of the barrel. They had top draft picks, and they didn't really have the luxury of identifying fit and identifying who plays with who, complementary basketball. It really was just the best player available. When when the cupboard's bare, you got to take the best player you can. And for so long we did that. And then we ended up with Cade, Ivy, and when Ivy fell into our laps, when Keegan Murray was taken right before us, I don't think anyone was really worried about fit at that point. Ivy was a great player, and we were happy to have him here in Detroit. But I think one of my largest grievances this year is that issue, and that these guys, that they all are talented in their own regards, but they're not very complementary. They don't play off each other so well. Everyone's talent up and down the line. Cade, Jalen, Jaden Ivey, Asar, all these guys are so talented, but they don't necessarily mesh together. So I almost feel like we put together all this talent, but now we're making this rebuild so much harder. We're trying to force these guys together that necessarily they don't play so well together. You got Cade, the big guard coming down, who has shown that he can take over games. He's shown he can light up from 3, but he's not necessarily, that outside threat. Jaden Ivey is such a great guy getting to the line, getting downhill, and getting calls, and he's so electric. But outside of his, month and a half when he was shooting about 40% or so from 3, I think since March, he's only shooting 23% from 3. Pairing that alongside Cade is in my opinion, just not going to work, especially when you look down the line and, you got guys like, Duran down low that is, great within the paint, but he's not going to sprace it away from the basket. You got Asar Thompson, who, again, great in his own right, fantastic defense, so athletic, a pick and roll threat, for lobs, but he's not going to space away from the basket either. So by pairing our core that we have together, the quote unquote core, by forcing them together, it's almost like we're hindering our rebuild and trying to match these guys together that aren't playing so complementary together. So, I know you mentioned last week in a podcast that, we might need to move on from one of these guys eventually. And that's kind of where I sit with after watching basketball this year and seeing where this team is at. I personally just don't see how we can continue moving forward with those 4 core guys, or 5, or however, whoever you want to consider to be in that group. It leads me back to a few years ago, the trade that, between the Kings and the Pacers. Both of them, I felt, were kind of in a similar situation where they both drafted guys that were at the time considered to be, well thought of and building blocks, foundational pieces. But they weren't necessarily great fits. On the Kings, you had Halliburton being drafted there, but you already kind of had De'Aaron Fox running point for the Pacers, for Domantas Sabonis, drafted there, but you already had Miles Turner in there, and they kind of identified Isaiah to be their down low future guy. So they identified that maybe we love these guys; they're talented in their own rights, but they maybe aren't going to fit with our team and our roster as we have it now. So they made that difficult decision that probably stung, in real time, and getting rid of some of their prized possessions for a guy that maybe might fit their roster better. So I used to really believe in that core, that 4 or 5 core, whoever you want to put in there. But as the year went on, my belief in that they can take us back to the playoffs together as a group, it just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And now I'm kind of firmly in that camp that, a difficult decision might need to be made here in order to maybe move on from one of our guys that we originally thought were foundational pieces for somebody that, is still a proven talent, but fits better alongside those guys.
This season has been rough for everyone, from the organization to the players to the fans. How do you feel about the Pistons organization right now? From Tom Gores to Troy Weaver and company, whoever you want to include in the front office, Monty Williams. How do you feel about the organization as we sit here on March 26th?
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to really wrap your head around and in my opinion, come to a real conclusion on what to do with any of them, because you have an owner in Tom Gores, and people have, criticized him really for quite some time, and his lack of interest and, some of his tactics. But, so you don't really know how you really feel with him. And then you go down the line, you have Troy Weaver, and there was all the discrepancy and the rumors about who he wanted, who was his guy to be, the head coach, who Tom Gores and Artellum and who they wanted. So there's so much he said, she said with that front office that it almost was like doomed to start. No matter who got their way, somebody was, for lack of better terms, going to be stuck with a guy that they didn't necessarily think was best for the position. And so, I even think you look back at, Troy Weaver's, the stuff he did with OKC, and you look back and you say, God, he had to have some sort of hand in what they did down there. They're the team we want the Pistons to be. They're young, they're exciting, they're winning meaningful games. Troy Weaver had to have something to do with that. And I think each year that goes by that the OKC continue to have success and then we don't, it hinders what I think he really was doing within, those draft picks and within that organization. And then all the way down to Monty being added to this front office this offseason. He drove me up a wall like he did, most other Pistons fans to start the season with the Killian Hayes getting minutes over Jaden Ivey. Even, when Marvin Bagley had a good stretch, he suddenly got sent to the bench. So his minute and rotations have drove me up a wall. Now, over the past few weeks, I feel like he has begun to stagger a few of his starters and bench units back when, a few weeks ago when they were healthy. So I've kind of come around a little bit on Monty. I think I never really thought he was obviously on the hot seat. You need to give him time. Whatever kind of system he was trying to implement is going to take time. So I never really thought he was on the hot seat. I think more so Troy Weaver was on the hot seat. But I would be shocked and a little disappointed if they moved on from Monty so quickly, just because you can't judge a guy off his first season. I think, and more so Troy Weaver would be, he's got it this offseason to prove, make a firm decision one way or another, whether he's going all in with this lineup and these guys and this roster and adding to it, or like I said, he makes that tough decision and kind of moves on from a few guys and tries to fit some different guys in together more harmoniously.
So last thing, real quickly, because we're running out of time here, but I want to get this from you. What do you think happens this offseason? Quick summary of what you believe will happen. Will Pistons fans get a Woj notification to their phone? Will something happen? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think I don't see that, that Woj bomb coming for Detroit, in which a Jaden Ivey has been traded and part of a package for somebody bigger. I don't think we'll see a Jalen Duren get traded for draft picks or something. I just don't see that large of a move from this front office. I think that's radical. Like I said, it might be the right one to make a move like that, but I don't see it happening. I more so see them addressing, taking their top three, whatever pick it is, addressing that 3 or 4 position, a 6'9", a Risha who's 6'9", can shoot the three to fill a hole there. And then as much as I'd like to see them make more of a splash in the free agency, obviously not via real free agency, but via trade or something, I also don't see them going out and doing something big like that. I don't see them going out and getting a Trey Murphy type guy or a Jalen Johnson type guy. I kind of see them coming up short in that regard and settling, unfortunately, for a Tobias Harris. He'd be great for this team in the short run, but I don't think many people are begging for Tobias Harris. So I see kind of a combination of let's try and keep squeezing this roster together and trying to make it work for better or for worse.
All right, Tyler, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you. Hopefully the Pistons give Pistons fans like yourself something to root for moving forward and something to smile about on the offseason and next season. So I appreciate you coming on. You guys can find some of his work, some of his freelance work over at Piston Powered. Again, Tyler, appreciate you coming on, man, and hope you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Q. I really appreciate the opportunity, man.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you'll get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers at ebaymotors.com. We are back with another Pistons fan. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Phillip Banks. Phillip, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and talk about this Pistons team, this Pistons season. Before we get into the Pistons season, how you feel about everything that's going on, just give everyone a brief explanation of your story as a Pistons fan. How did you become a Pistons fan? Just give them a brief story of how you got here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on first and foremost. My journey as a Pistons fan, of course, my middle school years, that's when, the 04 Pistons. So my mom had season tickets. I was able to go to a lot of games, see Brian the first time there, a lot of that stuff. So my love for that team just, grew that way. As I transitioned into an adult, I got my own season tickets, and it's kind of, this is the season, I tried to do that.
So with this season and how it's went, I guess what we'll start with is this. Did you ever think in your wildest imagination that this season in particular could have gotten this bad before the year? What were your thoughts? And did you think this was even a possibility they could go this south?
To be very honest, like in the summer off season going into the season, I had high hope for the team. That's kind of why I got the tickets. I was like, oh, okay, we got finally get a healthy Cade along with Ivy. And then to be honest, when we didn't get Wemby and then we dropped 5, I was like, to be honest, this season is feeling a little weird right here. Okay. Even the energy there, because I had it at the Pistons facility, practice facility. I was at the draft party, so I'm like, the energy here kind of weird. Hold on. So probably the day before the NBA season started, like I said, I had high hopes. I looked at the roster again. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, are we that good? So to be honest, that's kind of my thoughts on right before the season. I had a weird feeling something like this could happen, but not 12 wins. At least 20 is what I was expecting.
Fair enough. So I guess this is the next place we'll go then. I think the most talked about aspect of this team from fans, from people like myself, from NBA discourse is the young core. Where do you stand now with the young core? Do you have confidence in the Pistons young guys and the young core? Do you think they need to move on? Like, where are you at now after this season with what people call the Pistons young core?
If we right now, if we want to be more patient, of course, I saw glimpses just like you and the rest of the fans saw. So I feel confident in that aspect. But as far as where we like going into year 5 of a rebuild, how much more patient can I and fans be? So it's like when you see us late in this season and you see a Cade take a shot that could have eventually won it with 10 seconds left on the clock, where these spurts of the lazy defense from Darren, you kind of your face turns into Cade after that losing streak continue. You kind of bite your lip. You're like, hold on, what's going on right here? So my confidence is still there with them, but on this team, that's kind of where I'm starting to question it. Like, if all of them went to their own team, they could probably be even more valuable. But as far as them being here and growing, I don't know how much longer fans are going to be patient.
So I guess the next spot is obviously, where are your feelings on the Pistons organization after this season? When I say that, I mean ownership, to the front office with Troy Weaver and company, to the head coaching staff, or the head coach and Monty Williams. Where do you stand with these guys?
I felt like the Twitter Spaces, joining with you and like Pistons talks and stuff like that. I kind of learned more about the aspect of the front office and Troy Weaver, kind of more so moves they've already made or lack thereof. So probably from ownership, I mean, he's just trying to make his money. So I don't really have any thoughts on that. As far as Troy Weaver, I feel like he's kind of put it in a very bad position. Like, even to trade around, like even if you were on 2K, it would be hard to create some value in this team outside of what we already have. And then as far as the coaching, I'm honestly tired of Monty. Like, I feel like that's, even if we brought Anthony Edwards here and Steph Curry, like he would be like, you know what, Fournier at the one is better than Steph. Like, I feel like that's where his mind would go. So I wouldn't even have confidence if we got the players we need.
So, fair enough. So, that's funny. But so let me ask you this: where are you most frustrated at? Like, what after this season, what you've watched so far? What are you most frustrated about with this season? What gets you riled up the most?
I feel like the false hope that was so, at the beginning of the season. And you brought that up a lot on the show, which I salute on that, because going into it, I feel like no one could imagine we would be where we are right now as a team on the Pistons. So I feel like it was kind of like if you're texting a girl and she's saying like, "Oh, I'm on this," and then y'all hang out and she ain't on that. Like, it's like, hey, y'all y'all in the open gym going crazy. Then you got the letters coming out from Troy Weaver. Like, I couldn't imagine this. So,
so we're going into the off season. We don't know who's going to play for the rest of the year. How many guys are even going to play for the rest of the year? In the off season, do you want big changes to happen? Do you want to be a little bit? I know you mentioned earlier that you have some confidence with the young core still. Do you want to be more patient? Do you think Pistons fans are going to get that Woj notification when the season ends? Like, what do you see happening this offseason? What do you want to happen this offseason more so?
At this point, I want us to get solid pieces. Like, where do we want the Pistons to be 5 years from now? I feel like a lot of the moves have been like, all right, we got to shut up the fans. Okay, like Blake Griffin move type deal, or all right, we got the young core. Now y'all not patient, but it's like y'all, the organization needs to pick a direction that they want to fully commit to and go in. We got Fontecchio, that looks amazing. Quentin Grimes, question mark. I mean, if he had a full year with us, how would that look? So pick, as you stated, if we want to be defensive, pick the correct personnel to go defensive, including coaching, including even just the intensity we have on the court. Like, I don't know. Just pick one full solid moves that if Kate is our guy, let's start fully committing to him and fully building around him.
And I guess the last thing I'll ask you before we get up out of here, which, by the way, for anyone watching on YouTube, your necklace, your chain's off the, like, I give you respect. The chain's nice.
Oh, appreciate you, man.
Had
to come. It's cool, man.
I feel you had to come up here iced up. I feel it. I didn't come out iced up. I don't got nothing on. I sure put my ice on. You feel me? But
yeah.
But last thing I'll ask you is this: do you want the Pistons to make moves within the organization? Do you want to see them get a new coach? Or do you want to see Monty stick around? Do you want them to move on from Weaver? Or do you want to see him stick around? Like, where do you stand with those guys? And are you willing to give them another year to make this work?
I'm gonna jump out the window. Get rid of Monty. I mean, we have to take the L's at this point. I mean, that's just an idea that on paper looked great, but it's not any longer. So I feel like find a coach that can grow with the team. We got a coach that's stuck in his ways. Honestly, do the players believe in him any longer? I mean, we've seen some of that starting to spark up. So new coaching for sure. I mean, our coaching, I honestly feel like Jared Jack, if he was a coach, I would trust that more than a Monty. We saw how our team looked in the summer league. They were hungry, winning. Like it looked a little bit better. As far as Troy Weaver, I want him to be patient one more year just to see, like, it's like a bad joke, like a long joke. You're like, the joke kind of bad, but I gotta hear the ending. So I gotta see his one more full year. Let's see where you take it. Now, if it's some BS next season, then pack your bags at that point.
Fair enough, man. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Phillip, for coming on, man. I appreciate you coming on, voicing how you feel about this season. Hopefully you make it through the rest of the season, man. Hopefully they play some guys for us all to watch and be entertained somewhat, and hopefully they give you guys in the offseason and next year something to root for and something to be happy about. So wish you the best, man. I hope you enjoy the Pistons as much as possible, and have a great day, man.
You too, cool. Appreciate you, man.
Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created a Fire TV channel to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexis devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. Again, to learn more, visit www.amazon.com/lockedon Fire TV. Go check out and get your first Fire TV today. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is always your updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen information system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. The 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has room up to 8 in expensive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. I am here with our last Pistons fan of the episode. I'm here with Charles Denham. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, Charles. I really appreciate it. I guess the place we'll start with is the same place we started with every other fan, the other two fans I interviewed. And it's, what's your story as a Pistons fan? Just give everyone a brief explanation of how did you become a Pistons fan? Were you born in Detroit and that's how you became a fan? Like, just give a brief explanation before we get into this season. How did you become a Pistons fan?
Well, I grew up in Michigan, was born and raised there for first few years of my life, and then I moved down to Houston, Texas, and that's where I've been residing for the last 12, 13 years or so. But Pistons are my team. Detroit's my city, and I've really come to appreciate the city more as a whole, sports-wise, through the Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, Lions, especially now, and just the Rockets. Whenever I first got down here, they weren't very good. So Pistons always stuck and went through the Reggie years, the Drummond years, the Blake years, made the playoffs that year actually, and now we're to hopefully what could be Cade's era, or who knows at this point. It's a lot of ups and downs. It's been a very rough patch in recent memory, but nothing. I don't think there's been anything in my lifetime, Detroit-wise, for the Pistons at least, where they've been an actual good team. They've been a mediocre franchise at best since I've been alive, and just it's really hard to watch. But I got to stick through. I got to stick to my Michigan blood, and I got to continue to support. So, I mean, I'm going to stick with the Pistons.
And you're a younger fan, so if I can ask, how old are you?
Currently, I'm 16, going on 17 this summer. But you know, I like to say I have a fair share of NBA knowledge. I mean, I host my own podcast. I write for SB Nation, for NBA. I do a lot of things basketball wise. I watch a lot of basketball, read a lot of basketball, do analysts. I may be younger, but I feel like I know enough, and for at least my age, more so than the average casual NBA fan would.
So I ask you your age because, like you said, there's been Pistons fans who are going to grow up their whole lives and have not seen a single playoff win, that has not seen any success whatsoever with this team. And it's crazy to think about that, because when I was younger, younger than your age, when I was around your age, the Reggie and Drummond years were going on. But when I was around like 5-6 years old, I remember my first game I watched was like the NBA Finals when the Pistons were in it. Like, so I have like a distinct memory, not a great one, but I have a memory of this team doing good things. Some Pistons fans literally have no idea at all about that stuff. That's all they've known is bad, and it's crazy to think about that. So I want to take it to this direction and ask you, how do you feel about the Pistons' young core now after this season? I think that's the most popular topic. That's what everyone's talking about. How do you feel about whatever you consider the Pistons' young core now after this? I mean, the season's not over, but basically is after this season.
Well, everyone talks about the core four. You know, you have Cade, Asur, Ivy, and Duren. If I'm being truthful here, as much as I love Ivy and Duren since the rookie seasons last year, I don't know if they can both be on the team following this season. I don't know. I think the only lock is really Cade. And the Pistons' young core, they've had some nice additions. I mean, you have Marcus Sasser, rookie from Houston. You have, if you want to count second-year Simone Fontecchio, I think he's around 26 though, so he's not on the younger side, but he's only in his second season. And then you have guys like, Quentin Grimes, who's just he's still young in his career. So there's a lot of young talent there, but I'm not sure, at least for right now, the Pistons don't have the coaching staff, and they really just don't have the motivation to kind of get all those young core pieces and put good use of them. Cade is out there doing his thing, but with the injuries he's suffered, and since he has a lot of stretches where he'll play very good and then he'll show up on the injury report, and after that his shooting splits will go down. We saw it after the All-Star break. He was out there leading the NBA in three-point percentage, and he dipped all the way down to who knows what, probably low 30s since he showed up on the injury report with the knee injury. So if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know what young core Pistons can really stay besides, for me at least, Cade and Asur, because Duren is a defensive liability at center, and I'm not sure quite where his mindset is defensively, and I don't know if you can have both him and Asur on the court since they're not great shooters. You can't have, in modern NBA, two guys on the court who are going to play valuable minutes for you not be able to shoot. It's just, you don't win that way. So I think you have to make a decision there between Asur and Duren, but I would very much tend towards Asur. I think he has potential to be a top 5 defender in the NBA if he's not already up there in top 15, 20. And then you get to Ivy, who he reminds me a lot of Jalen Green. Not in a sense of play style, but consistency, streaks. He's extremely athletic, extremely fast, but he's kind of a defensive liability still. And offensively, you can't have a guy go out there, have 30 points for you one night, and then his next 10 games go out there and average 11. It's just not fundamental good basketball. You need more from your young core pieces. And again, I'm not sure if you can have all four of those guys go out there and do something for you. That's why, again, I tend towards Cade and NissanOur. In this offseason, I think there's 100% moves to be made. And whether who it is, we'll see. But if I were to choose, I would. If there were only two guys that could stay, it'd be Cade and NissanOur for me.
So what is I was gonna go with the other fans. I asked a different question, but I think what I'm gonna lead with here is this: what are you most frustrated about this year? What about this season has you most riled up? What has disappointed you, made you angry? What are you most angry or disappointed about with this season?
I think just what I'm most constantly angry with is Monty Williams and the coaching staff. The front office choosing a head coach whose wife has cancer by signing him by throwing as much money as they can to him. I don't think Monty, I can't say this for him, but I don't think he's in the mental state to coach a group like the Pistons. Putting any coach in this situation is a very tough ask, but to ask a guy like Monty Williams, who has a lot on his plate already, is just kind of just putting more flames in the fire. There's a lot of bad things going on, and I am angered no matter when news comes out for the Pistons. At something up every night I watch, win or loss, something's there, and it just, I think everything has just built up to where all my anger and frustration has just let out to the front office. Troy Weaver, he's done a decent job, but has he really made any moves as a GM to show that he should be staying? I mean, he traded Bojan Bogdanovic for 2 seconds when last season he was offered 2 first. It's just the small things that adding to this season has really made things even worse on his part. And then you get to owner Tom Gores, who, again, he's just kind of let everything just fall apart. He's letting the young players on the Pistons. I don't know if Cade would want to re-sign this offseason. And that's kind of what frustrates me most is the distrust not only us fans have in the front office, but maybe the players are starting to grow. I don't know if Cade Cunningham would want to re-sign with the Pistons if they even offered him, because what benefit at this current moment would there be to stay in Detroit? And it's just leading to a point where if you don't know if the players want to be there, the coaching hasn't helped at all. In fact, it's probably made everything 10 times worse. You went on a season, an NBA record long 28 game losing streak, I believe. I don't know how you can walk in the next season with a GM back, a head coach back, whoever the assistant GM is. You can't. It's just all my frustration piles up on the front office because you can't ask a group of 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds to go out there, give you, and expect to win with the coaching you have and the talent you have around them.
All right, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Charles, for coming on and getting everything you want to say out. I guess the last thing I'll quickly ask you, just a quick answer because we're running out of time here. Do you think there's going to be big changes? Do you want big changes to happen this offseason?
If there's any possibility for a big change, I'd strike on it the second it happens. Any change is probably for the better at this point.
All right, Charles, thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for supporting the podcast and supporting the Pistons still and watching all season. Hopefully they give you guys something to watch and something to be happy about as soon as possible. But appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking time out of your day. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free to web on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And if you want to join one of these episodes and be one of the 3 fans that could come on and talk about everything they feel about with this season, comment down below or tweet at me over at Twitter at Kuka That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.